Government loves you. Don't
That's right.
worry. Continue to pay all of your taxes no matter what.
Right.
The I feel like the media, at least in entertainment, and this could just be me in a bubble, but I think we're moving closer and closer. I think we're probably just about at the point where you can joke about and say anything you want. Do you get that feeling as a guy who spent a lot of time in the media? And let me ask you, was there always this desire to be like, don't say any bad words, don't make sure we don't go over the line, or did that just depend on the person who was making the project? Because I feel like now you can say almost anything, at least within comedy and the things that I watch, people get away with saying literally anything, and I like that. But I wonder if it's just me not being old enough to know that it goes through waves like that.
Well, two things I think. One, you have to be a member of that side in order to say those things. I think that's my personal opinion, or at least it's easiest to be that. So you have to be a card-carrying member in order to say something about as if you were on the other side, because you're in essence satirizing it and you're mocking it. But I will say that I have worked with people like 20 some years ago on a show called Mr. Show with Bob and David, uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where they were, in my mind, all about that. They wouldn't toe the line for the man, that type of thing, and they were politically able to pretty much. We were able to do what we wanted, and that felt good, and it felt right to be able to do that because lampooning the uh, the people who are in power is should be acceptable. Free speech and the fact that through lampooning them, perhaps a different consciousness arises from seeing another side to an issue. So I felt very much in support of that. And as time has gone on, now I realize that what happened to those guys? They're not quite doing that anymore. To the point where I reached out to one of them and said, because I felt like he would be like the person I could speak to when I was going through all this. And this is before I was sentenced as well. And I reached out to him because I didn't have a couple of people's numbers that I did want to reach out to, like Marilyn Rice Cub. She actually stood up for me in an article that was done about her. And she was on 24 and she was on Mr. Show as well years ago. And we were friends. And so I was trying to reach out to her and I didn't have her number because the FBI took all my phone and all my contacts and my computer and everything. And I just couldn't get her number. So I reached out to Bob Odenkirk and I was like, hey, man, I know there's a lot of stuff about me in the news and whatever. And he's like, yeah, really disappointed, man. I mean, you went there and it's just like and I said, I might, well, first of all, you got to understand, I didn't do anything wrong. I wasn't violent and stuff. And he goes, okay. And I said, and I might be going to prison. And he goes, well, you basically FAFO, I guess is what it's called. You fuck around, you find out. And I was like, what? And he goes, well, yeah, I mean, if you deserve it, you got to pay the time or price or whatever. And I was like, wow, like this guy, oh my God, this is incredible. And he's like, I was worried for my family and stuff. And I just couldn't believe he was saying that to me because he had bought it hook, line, and sinker from the same outlets that he was making fun of years ago. And I understand he's got a family and stuff. I mean, I know him. And I don't ask him to put his head on or neck on the chopping block for me, but speaking to me personally and saying that stuff was just incredible to me. But they've captured everyone, it seems.
That's a wild thing. He was afraid for his family for talking to you. Is that what he's saying?
Well, no,
If he worked with
and
you?
he was watching it on the news originally.
Oh,
He was afraid for his family. And I said, well, yeah, but I mean, there were people there that did things, but I didn't do them. And they're characterizing me as such, but that's not true. And he's like, well, listen, I know how that goes because I was at a BLM demonstration or protest. And first of all, I was like, BLM, you got to be shit. But anyway, so he goes, I was there. And some people had some defund the police signs in front of where I was standing. And he said, if someone had taken a picture and it said defund the police on the sign and Bob Odenkirk behind, he's like, they would have said I was part of that defund the police thing. And I don't believe in that. And I was like, oh, okay, but like my career's over, my family's in jeopardy, I'm in jeopardy, I may be going to prison. It's a touch different, and what the hell were you doing at that fucking event anyway, So, it's like he, of course, was not going to hear any of that, but he also, just was sort of trying to make it as if it was a matter of fact, obvious conclusion that, well, you try and overthrow the government, then you should go to jail. I'm like, would you please look at what you're saying? I mean, we didn't try and overthrow the government, nor would it be possible. I mean, what the hell? Also, it was like, as the news characterized it, I understand people could have been thinking it was a very violent event because it was wall-to-wall action. That's all they showed was one fight, another fight, and wall-to-wall. They didn't see people standing around going, USA, or, Biden's a jerk, or whatever we were saying. That was not interesting. And so they would rather show fighting. But it was pretty surprising.
People are going to be disappointed to hear that about old Saul there. No, that's unfortunate.
It's just silly. And, hopefully people will come around. I mean, I've heard other comics, bringing me up on stage, and not bringing me up personally, but, mentioning me or mentioning that they're disappointed and, it's such a terrible
what comedians
thing captured. Pardon
me? Which comedians?
Well, I guess Cross said some stuff and was near tears about how, disappointing it is.
Is that David Cross? Sorry.
Yeah. And
he's, oh man. They've come so far, and these are adult men, and it's just hard for me to hear that.
It's embarrassing. And also, they did a Mr. Show reunion about a week ago, 31st of January at a theater in Los Angeles. And they brought someone else in maybe to do parts or something that I would normally do, or they didn't mention me. And I wanted to go there and do an insurrection of the show, but I would be sitting in jail probably right now. If I
like the justification though for that. If you have to think on the other hand, it all on the other side. It all comes from not wanting to appear as being mean. That's what I have concluded. It's a big arc for my podcast. Is a lot of the stuff governing our society is not wanting to be mean. We can't appear to be mean. It would be mean if we brought him on stage here. So but it's okay how they treat you. That's the juxtaposition I find. Is there anybody else that you reached out to that you were really surprised that at their response?
Well, I'll tell you, after reaching out to Bob, I had no desire to reach out to anyone else because I was crestfallen. I mean, I really, there are some guys that, producer I worked with for years who just basically watched me get torn to shreds by the wolves. There was also a guy who did a successful show that I believe was behind employing some minions of his to be the first two people whose names were shared as fellow actors, friends of mine, who said, oh yeah, he was there, he told me, and we worked on this together, and he's a Trumper and all this. I barely know these people. And they were like, oh, we're close friends, and they were both enlisted by this guy to just step forward and because he didn't want to get his name sullied, of course. So that is tied to the Rick and Morty regime as well. So
interesting. I think you should try to team up with that guy. I don't know how he is in politically, but he's got a video game company. How is H. John Benjamin there? Is he a good guy? I get the feeling that I don't know. I don't have any idea how he is. I don't know why I was about to say. I get the feeling based on the voices I've heard him do.
John's everyone that is involved in this, they're all awesome people, and they're just on the wrong side of history. I think they're captured by a ridiculous thing that they why would they want to risk everything that they've gained when it's not the easiest business to get to the places that they're in? I don't want I have no ill will towards these people who sold me out, or think that I'm a clown for or a very alt-right person or whatever, which they have no reason to believe that, except for all the media coverage. I mean, if they believe that to be truthful, then of course they are believing the truth in their own minds. But it's not like I'm going to work on Bob's Burgers again, so I really don't give a shit. But John is captured, as well as everybody on that side. I mean, in that place, and it's unfortunate, and it's kind of weird for me to say that, because that type of talk is very it's damning of others, and it's not really my place to say, because I don't have any allegiance to them, or they have no allegiance to me personally. They're just friends and acquaintances and that type of thing. So I thought the allegiance should be there, but not to destroy their whole lives, for me. So I just don't like it when people reach out and negatively impact something towards me, they have negative things to say about me when they have absolutely no idea what's going on.